Problem 10-31. We're going to do depreciation schedules for an asset using the straight line depreciation method, the units of production depreciation method, and the double declining balance depreciation method. So on January 3rd, Rapid Recovery Delivery Service purchased a truck at a cost of $100,000. Before placing the truck in service, Rapid spent $3,000 painting it, $600 replacing tires, and $10,400 overhauling the engine. The truck will remain in service for 5 years and have a residual value of $12,000. So they think they can probably sell it for about $12,000 at the end of 5 years. The truck's annual mileage is expected to be 32,000 miles in each of the first 4 years and 8,000 miles in the 5th year, for a total of 136,000 miles. In deciding which depreciation method to use, Andy Sargent, the general manager, requests a depreciation schedule for each of the depreciation methods, which, as I said before, are straight line, units of production, and double declining balance. So all a depreciation schedule is, you create a spreadsheet and you figure out the depreciation over the useful life of the asset. So prepare a depreciation schedule for each of the depreciation methods showing asset cost, depreciation expense, and accumulated depreciation, and then the book value of the asset. Begin by preparing a depreciation schedule using the straight line method. All right, so let's start with January 1st. What was the cost of that asset? So the asset cost, the asset, which is a truck, costs $100,000, but we have to include all the other costs that were incurred to get the asset up and running for its first use. So we have to also add in the $3,000 paint job, the $600 replacing the tires, and then the $10,400 engine overhaul. So add up $100,000 plus $3,000 plus $600 plus $10,400 gives us the asset cost of $114,000. And what was the book value on that date? Remember, we're just talking about January 1st, January 3rd. The book value, what is the formula for book value? It's the cost of the asset minus the accumulated depreciation. On the day we buy it, there is no depreciation, so I'm just going to copy and paste the asset cost because it's going to be the same, or the book value is going to be the same on the day we buy it. Now, it's 1 year later, the end of the year, we need to do the depreciation for the asset. So we need to figure out what the depreciable cost is. Depreciable cost is, well, what's the maximum that we could depreciate? Well, we can't depreciate all $114,000 because we think we can sell it for $12,000. So the most we can depreciate, in other words, the depreciable cost is the asset cost minus the residual value, which is $102,000. 102,000, and since we're here, we could just fill that in for all the years. Copy and paste is our friend. And then, so when we're doing depreciation with the straight line method, we need to divide by the useful life, which is the number of years. How many years do we think we can use this thing? 5 years. So we can plug in 5 years. And now we can calculate the depreciation. 102,000 divided by 5 is 20,400. And because it's straight line depreciation, that means we're going to have the same depreciation for every full year. So I can copy and paste that down. So let's just think about now for the year ending December 31st, 2024. What's the accumulated depreciation on that in that first year? Well, it's the amount of that depreciation for that year. Now we have to calculate the book value at the end of that year. So book value, remember, is the cost of the asset minus accumulated depreciation. So 114,000 minus 20,400 gives us 93,600. Then in the next year, we need to calculate accumulated depreciation. So we need to take the previous year's accumulated depreciation, add it to this year's depreciation, and that gives us $40,800. Now to calculate the book value, it's $114,000 minus the accumulated depreciation of $40,800 gives us $73,200. Then for year 2026, accumulated depreciation, we're going to take the previous year, add it to the current year, and that gives us what? $61,200. The book value is going to be the cost of the asset minus accumulated depreciation gives us $52,800. The second to last year, 2027. Accumulated depreciation is the previous year's depreciation plus this year's depreciation gives us, what is that, 81,600. For book value, you take the asset cost minus accumulated depreciation gives us a book value of 32,400. And then the last year, accumulated depreciation is the prior year's accumulated depreciation plus this year's, and we get 102,000. And what is the book value of that in that final year? Take the asset cost, subtract accumulated depreciation, and we get 12,000, which should be the residual value. So let's double check. The residual value is 12,000. And the final year book value is 12,000. So we've done that correctly. Check our answer. Fantastic. Next, before completing the units of production depreciation schedule, calculate the depreciation expense per unit. So in this case, it's per mile driven. Select the formula, then enter the amounts and calculate the depreciation expense per unit. Round depreciation expense per unit to 2 decimal places. All right, so we have to fill it out in words. So to calculate the depreciation per unit, which is depreciation per mile in this case, we're going to take the cost minus the residual value divided by however many miles we think we can drive it. So useful life in units. So the cost is 114,000. Residual value is 12,000, which of course we got from here. Useful life in units, let's see, we think we can drive it 136,000 miles. So 114,000 minus 12,000 divided by 136,000 gives us 0.75. So 75 cents per mile driven. Now we're going to do the units of production depreciation schedule. So the asset cost, still 114,000. The book value, 114,000. Now depreciation per unit is right here. Depreciation per unit, so we're going to copy and paste the 75 cents in all of these. And how many number of units is miles? So how many miles did we say we're going to drive it? So let's see, up here. For the first 4 years is 8,000 miles. So I'm going to copy, or I'm going to type in 8,000. Now I can copy and paste that. For the first 4 years, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for the 5th year, oops, I read this wrong. No. I read it wrong. Sorry about that. It helps to read carefully. So the truck's annual mileage is expected to be 32,000 miles in each of the first 4 years. 32,000. Copy 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 8,000 in the 5th year. So now we've got it right. So the depreciation expense for the year is just the number of miles times the cents depreciation per mile. So 32,000 times 0.75 is 24. Let me put the comma in there just so it's easier to read. So that's going to be the same in first 4 years. And then last year, it's 8,000 times 0.75. What is that? That's 6,000. So on this homework problem, if you want to set up Excel and use Excel for this, go ahead. Because that's what they do in the real world. Accumulated depreciation. So in the first year, all we got is 24,000. So the book value is the cost, 114,000 minus accumulated depreciation gives us 90,000. Next year, depreciation is the prior year plus this year gives us 48,000. So the book value is 114,000 minus 48,000 gives us 66,000. The next year, the accumulated depreciation is the prior year's accumulated plus this year's gives us 72,000. Book value in that year, it's the cost minus accumulated depreciation is 42,000. The next year, second to last year, accumulated depreciation is the prior depreciation plus this year's depreciation gives us 96,000. The book value, asset cost, minus accumulated depreciation, 18,000. Now you're kind of seeing why they use Excel to do this. And then last year, we've got accumulated depreciation of 96 plus 6 gives us 102,000. The book value is the cost, 114 minus 102 gives us 12,000, which should be the same as that residual value, and it is. Well done. Next, prepare a depreciation schedule using the double declining balance DDB method. Round depreciation expense to the nearest whole dollar. So asset cost, let's just copy and paste. Still 114,000. Book value on that day, 114,000. So the formula for double declining balance is take the book value times the double declining balance rate, which is going to be 2 times 1 divided by 5. And 5 is the number of years that we expect to use this asset. So what is the book value of the item in that first year? Well, book value, remember, is cost minus accumulated depreciation. And there isn't any accumulated depreciation, not yet, because we've not calculated it for the first year. So the book value is $114,000. So I'm going to copy and paste. So 114,000 times 2 and basically divided by 5 gives us a whole bunch of depreciation in that first year, 45,000, 600. So accumulated depreciation that year is 45,600. So the book value at the end of the year is going to be the asset cost minus accumulated depreciation gives us 68,400. So we're going to take this book value, plug it in for the next year, times 2 times 1 divided by 5. So we can just fill that in for all of them. So 68,400. I'll put the arrows, or excuse me, the commas in there just so it's easier to read. See, this is why I don't like putting the commas in there, because it increases your chance to make a mistake. All right. So depreciation for this second year is 68,400 times 2 divided by 5 gives us 27, 360. So accumulated depreciation is going to be the prior year's accumulated plus this year's depreciation gives us 72,960. The book value is going to be the cost minus 72,960 gives us 41,040. Copy and paste that. So we're going to take this times 2 divided by 5 gives us 16,416. And remember, round depreciation expense to the nearest whole dollar. So accumulated in this year is the prior plus this year's gives us 89,376. Book value is asset cost minus accumulated gives us 24,624. Copy and paste that. Multiply that times 2 divided by 5 gives us 9,850. So accumulated depreciation is the prior year's accumulated plus this year's depreciation gives us 99,226. Almost done. A lot of number crunching here. Book value, asset cost, minus the accumulated gives us 14,774. So you might be wondering why we don't have anything for the double declining balance right here. Well, first of all, let me copy and paste this. The reason why is because in this last year, the book value has to be the residual value. So we're not going to multiply anything over here. We're just going to put in the residual value here and then work backwards. So the residual value, remember, is 12,000. And why must the book value at the very end be the same as the residual value? Because you cannot depreciate the residual value because you're going to sell it for that. So the way we're going to do this is, my question is, how do we go from 14,774 book value down to 12,000 book value? So subtract the difference, and that is the depreciation for this year. So 14,774 minus 12,000 means we must depreciate 2,774 of accumulated depreciation in that final year. And then so accumulated depreciation for finally is this, the prior year accumulated, plus this year's depreciation expense gives us $102,000. Almost done. Rapid prepares financial statements using the depreciation method that reports the highest net income in the early years of asset use. Consider the first year that Rapid uses the truck. Identify the depreciation method that meets the company's objectives. All right, so remember, this depreciation, these depreciation schedules affect an expense. So the company's goal is to have the highest net income in the early years. So if we want high net income, we need a low expense. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the lowest depreciation expense in the first year. It's definitely not double declining because it always has the most depreciation early on. So we got 24,000 for units of production, and we got 20,400. So they want to use the one with the lowest expense so they can have the maximum profit. So they want to use straight line depreciation. So the depreciation method that reports the highest net income in the first year is straight line depreciation. It produces the lowest depreciation expense and therefore the highest net income. Now that's just for the first year. Overall, all three methods will produce the same amount of accumulated depreciation. So it just all depends on if the company wants more depreciation early or more depreciation late. And that's it.